it's Lindsay with the Creative Arrow, and if you are anything like me, you're probably getting all kinds of Facebook reels and Instagram posts and everything sharing all these cute ideas for holiday decorations and crafts. And so I wanted to share some of my own simple ideas with you guys. This is all going to be based around a candy cane. So I have this fun little stencil that I'm going to talk you through how to make with some basic household supplies. And then I'm going to show you how to use this stencil in a couple of different ways with some colored paper as well as a watercolor design. So if you are feeling festive and ready and you have some time, grab some supplies and follow along with me and let's make some candy canes. So first we're going to make the stencil, and for the stencil you're going to need a pencil, some sort of fatter marker, and a mug. So to start with the stencil, I'm going to use the marker as my guiding line, and I'm going to lightly trace around the edges of it, curving the bottom and going straight up the sides, just to get a nice shape for the base of your candy cane. And then I'm going to use the bottom edge of the mug, lining it up with that outside edge of the base, curving around lightly with a pencil. And then I'm going to finish off the inside curve. This is going to take a little bit of eye-hand coordination, but you have the outside to guide you. Going over everything just kind of lightly, rounding it all out so I end up with that nice candy cane shape. And then I'm going to go in with some sort of black marker. I'm using an Expo marker here just because it's the only thing I had available. You absolutely do not need to use an Expo marker. You can use a black pen, or if you have a black permanent marker, that'll work good as well. Once you have it, you can go in with an eraser if you so choose and erase some of these pencil lines. You absolutely do not have to because we are going to be using this as a stencil. And then I will be cutting this out, and this will be what we use for all of our designs. So there you have it. Now that we are done with the stencil, I'm going to get out some colored paper to use as our candy cane designs for our first set. These are just 12 by 12 scrapbook papers, and I wanted to go with some fun designs that were a little different, so I found this heart one as well as the rainbow one, and I'm going to put the candy cane in this bottom corner upside down. That way I can fit as many in here as possible, and I'm going to rotate the other one and trace around that one as well. So I'm going to fill this whole page tracing around my stencil outline for my candy cane design. Now for the rainbow design, I actually traced the stencils on the back. And the reason I did this is because I didn't want to have the black outline for these ones. So I'm going to cut these all out, and I'm going to show you the difference between tracing the outlines on the front and tracing the outlines on the back when I'm finished. Now that I'm done cutting out examples of both, I want to show you the difference between tracing your stencil on the top and tracing your stencil on the back. So for the heart shape, you can see there's a little bit of this black outline that kind of goes around each one, and then for the rainbow ones, you can see that there isn't any black outline, but you still have that nice crisp edge. And so it kind of just depends on what look you're going for, but I hope you enjoyed these ones. So here you have all of the rainbow candy canes completely finished, and I really like how on these there's just a little bit of different variety of the coloring. So you get the full spectrum of the rainbow, and they're very bright and happy. From here you could put little holes on each one and ribbon and make like a garland. So I'm really pleased with these. And as for my heart-shaped ones, they also turned out really super cute. I'm very happy with how they're still kind of in the color scheme of normal candy canes, but a little bit different. I really have kind of a fun idea for these ones as well, putting them in art journals and kind of decorating them. For my last candy cane design idea, I'm going to be using the stencil again, but this time on watercolor paper. And I'm tracing around it with a pencil. I'm again going to do this very lightly, that way I can erase any mistakes or the outline when I'm finished. I'm now going to go in and put in my dividing lines for all of the stripes of our candy cane. So I'm starting with the pencil, going at an angle, but this isn't going to be like a perfect line or a diagonal line. It's going to be kind of a curvy one. So the edges of it are going to curve along the outside and the inside edge, kind of like an elongated S. So let me show you here on the side separately so you can kind of get a better idea of this shape. And so I'm going to go up the sides and around the top. And this curve right here is going to be a little more challenging because it's going to be kind of closer together on the inside and further apart on the outside. And again, just doing this very lightly, kind of sketching these in. That way I can adjust them later if I need to make it look nice and even as the stripes go around this curved part. Now that I'm done outlining everything, I'm going to go in with an eraser and erase some of the lines that I don't need anymore and kind of make some adjustments until I'm happy with where the stripes are and how everything looks. Now that I've finished with the outline, I'm going to go in with a red marker and I'm going to kind of mark where each one of the red lines is going to be. That way I don't get confused later when I'm painting and accidentally put red where it's supposed to be white. Especially with watercolor, it's going to be a lot harder to get that off later. So this is just an extra step for me to kind of plan everything out before I start painting. I'm now going to go in and erase everything just a little bit. That way it's a lot lighter. Especially using watercolors, I don't really get the option to do this later. Once you put the paint on there, everything is kind of visible underneath since it's so transparent. So going through and kind of erasing everything just a little bit first is perfect so that it doesn't show up too much when you don't want it to later. I'm going to be using my travel set of watercolors for this, and I'm going to stick to the light red and the dark red as well as a little bit of this black. And I'm going to use this medium round-tipped brush as well as using a wet on dry technique. So this is where I'm going to keep the paper dry and I'm going to get the pigments nice and wet so that I have a little bit more control of the blending and the bleeding. Starting with my lighter red first, I'm going to go in to each one of the stripes and I'm going to fill it with just the base color and not too heavy, not too thick, so that I can add the darker color on top later. So while that bottom layer is still wet, I'm going to go in with my darker red and I'm just going to touch the edges on both the left edge and the side edge, as well as the top and the bottom. And this is going to kind of help give you that round shape of your candy cane, and so it makes it a little more three-dimensional and not nearly as flat. And I want to do this while it's wet because I do want it to kind of blend and bleed naturally. And any parts where it's not blending naturally, where maybe it's just like a line more so, I'm going to add a little bit more water just to kind of help guide it. So here you have it. All of my red stripes are done and they look beautiful. Blending is perfect. And now we're gonna go in and do a little bit of black with a lot of water. So it's gonna be more of a light gray, and I'm gonna test it here on the side first before I put it on my actual candy cane. So I'm happy with this light gray, and this is just going on the edges. And I'm okay with it mixing with the red a little bit. I think it makes it a little more natural and whimsical with watercolors. But if you don't want any of this blending and bleeding, absolutely wait for your red to dry before you go in with your gray. So this is the last step that I'm gonna do, and as you can see when I'm finished, it is a beautiful three-dimensional fun and whimsical candy cane. There's a spot here you can see where the red bled into the gray, but I am perfectly okay with that. I think it looks great. The only thing left to do with this candy cane is to cut it out. So I'm going to use just a pair of scissors, and I actually didn't wait for it to dry, but you can if you would like to. And I'm just going to cut this out so you don't have to worry about any of our other mark making or any of our other outlines, and then it'll be perfectly finished. So I've given my candy cane an opportunity to dry, and I think it turned out really well. I'm loving the overall look of it, but I do think I want it to be a little bit sharper. So I'm going to go in with this micron pen, and I'm going to do some kind of broken outlining along the side edges as well as the stripes, just to kind of help everything pop and stand out a little bit more from a distance. Here is my watercolor candy cane. Now he is fully finished, and I do really like how that turned out. That is exactly the look I was going for. So here it is next to the stencil. Again, you can see how the shape worked out perfectly. Here are all the candy canes next to each other, the watercolor one, the stencil on top, and the stencil on bottom. And there's the stencil again. So as you can see, you just need a few basic household supplies for this one. Anybody can do it. Let me know in the comments if you had a favorite. Make sure to subscribe. Let me know if you liked this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.